Right, in this little short demonstration, I'm going to show you how to create this style ring. You can see I've got two versions here. One's a bit chunkier than the other. This is a great, very quick and simple ring to make, to use up your odd beads, odd gemstones, and also a great one to do while sitting waiting at craft fairs, or just wanting to make something quick to go with a set of jewellery that you've created perhaps. But it's a lovely quick make to do. So I'm going to show you how to create it. You will need a few bits of equipment. So you'll need, in terms of tools, you'll need some flat nose pliers. You'll need some round nose pliers, some flush cutters or side cutter pliers, and a ring mandrel. That's if you haven't got a ring mandrel, you can use something, you know, sort of ring shaped to work onto. And then if you want to work harden your piece, then you may want a little jeweler's hammer to sort of harden the wire off a little bit if you want to do that, but it's not essential. And then materials wise, we need roughly, it's probably only about 30 centimeters of 0.8mm wire. But I always cut a bit longer, so I've got about 50 centimeters here cut, because I like to have nice long tails to work with. So it's a 0.8mm wire, and then you'll need 3 beads that will thread onto the wire. So it doesn't really matter about the size of the beads. As you saw in the examples, I've got 2 versions there, one with sort of 3mm or 4mm beads and one with 6mm beads. So I'm going for the 6mm beads here because it's nice and easy to see. So I've got the 6mm beads here, and they must thread onto that 0.8, so you need a generous drill hole in them. So thread those on to the wire, to roughly the centre of that wire, and then we're going to just kink the wire either side of those beads. You see, just literally bending it down with my fingers just to sort of give that a bit of a buffer then against those stones so they don't roll off the centre. And the same on the other side, so squeezing those beads nice and close together, bend that wire down so that those beads aren't going to move around. Okay, so it's going to do 2 things. It's going to help them sit proud of the ring. It's also going to help them not wiggle around on the mandrel. So I'm going to take my mandrel now and take it to the size that I want the ring to be. Now with this ring, you don't have to do any guesswork about, you know, making it a bit bigger to allow for wrapping. It pretty much stays the same size as you make it. So pop it onto your mandrel wherever you want, and then take the one wire from one side all the way around and back over to the top. And the same with the other wire. Bring it under, all the way around and over the top on the other side of the beads. So on the top here, we've got a wire one side of the beads and then another wire, and if we turn it over and look at the back, you'll see you've got 2 wires across the back. Ignore these. 2 wires across the back, and they're going to form the main ring. Okay, so back to the front again. We're going to now take one of the wires, we're going to pull it really nice and tight, keeping it in the position we want on the mandrel. And you see I'm using my finger and my thumb either side to sort of hold the wires onto the mandrel and in the position I want. I'm going to take this one wire from the one side, doesn't matter which one you start with, and I'm going to go and hook it around that last bead, hooking it around and pulling it over to the side. So a lot of tension, keep it nice and tight and pull it all the way around. And then we're going to swap hands and do the same with the other wire. So we're going to take this wire all the way around, hook that last bead, hook it all the way around, and off to the side. Okay, now that one's just sat slightly under, so I'm going to pull it onto the top of the bead rather than on the wire. So they're hugging sort of just under the belly or the widest part of the bead, then that's going to help hook them on. So now that's firmly in place. We're now going to take one side of the wire, again doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm going to take the one starting from this side that's coming out this direction, and I'm going to sort of raise it up slightly and then lay it over and in that gap there between the last 2 beads, the opposite 2 beads. So it's coming from here and it's going to go through between the centre and the last bead. So lay it in that gap between the beads and then just help guide it with your finger to pull it back and around that bead there. And you see it's hooking it under the last wire. Okay, and we'll do the same with the other side. So lift it slightly, then lay it down in between the last 2 beads there, and again use your finger to sort of shape it around that bead and then hook it underneath the wire on the other side. Okay, so now we're going to remove it from the mandrel just so that we can get the wires in through the ring shank itself. At this stage you need to be careful because you can easily misshape the ring at this stage because it's not secure yet. So hold across the top of your gemstones and into the ring shank itself, and then take this tail wire, doesn't matter which one, again either side, you're going to thread it through the ring shank itself, and you're just going to ease it through, helping it out, helping it sort of hook round that ring shank. Now we're not going to pull it too tight here, we're just going to get that hook sort of started so that it's in the right position to tighten it. We're going to put it back on the mandrel before we tighten it up. Okay, so that's the first side done. Going to turn it round and do the same on the other side. So again, holding the wires down on top of the gemstones, take the wire through the ring and hook it in place and just sort of lay it where it needs to go. Now we're going to pop it back onto the mandrel and slide it back into the size that you want it before we tighten it up. So once you've got it there, you can then take these wires and then you can really be a bit more robust with tightening them. So I tend to use like a ratchet strap technique where I rock the wire backwards and forwards to help it cinch it into place. So you can see that 2 rocks backwards and forwards has sort of helped it really hug the wire and get it nice and tightly wrapped around that ring shank. Same on the other side. I'm going to flip it round and going to again hold on to the wires on the top so they don't flip over, and then that ratchet strap sort of technique to really firm up that wrap around the shank there. Okay, so now again we can remove that from the shank, from the mandrel, and then we're going to go one more time around the shank there just to make sure it's very secure. So this time you can afford to be a bit more robust with it. Okay, it's the same on this side. Pull it through. Okay, up and all the way around. Now we can finish the wires now. We're ready to finish the ring. So I can either go right onto the top and cut it and then pinch in those wires with a pair of flat nose pliers, or I can do a little spiral, which I always prefer because I know it's not going to catch. So for that I'm going to just leave about 1 centimetre of wire and cut, and then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to put the tip of the pliers to the tip of the wire, and I'm just going to create the tiniest little spiral I can. Okay. Now spirals are one of those things that is a great skill to master, so I think I might do some videos on getting good spirals. But so I've created that spiral and I've sat it onto the sort of shoulder area of the ring. Just give it a pinch down with your pliers to keep it in place. Do the same on the other side. So again, cut down to about 1 centimetre, and then very tip of your round nose pliers to the tip of the wire. Hold nice and firmly and start a little spiral. Tiny little spiral in there. And then sit it on the shoulder, and again flat nose pliers to just pinch it down and keep it in place. And that's it. There you have it. That's your very quick, simple ring, which is quite stylish and quite effective, and best of all, very quick and very cheap to make. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, remember to press subscribe to the channel. I'm always doing quick tips and little tutorials, so you can catch up there. And also, if you press the little notifications bell, if you click that, you'll be the first to see the videos as they come out. Anyway, have a great creative day. See you soon.